And as Dr. Shailendra Kumar said, that it's been a very extensive process and it has taken a lot of time, effort and dedication on behalf of the jury to come up with the final winners. So ladies and gentlemen, up next we have the esteemed member of TIOL Jury Panel. He is a 1984 batch IRS officer and during his 37 years of public service held important posts as Member Customs CBIC, CEO Tax Policy Research Unit, ADG, DRI and Joint Secretary Customs. He was instrumental in a wide range of reforms in Central Excise, Customs and GST. And he'll be on this very dais, talk about the process and how it was being a jury member on this esteemed panel. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Shri Sandeep Bhatnagar.
I think I'm audible, yeah. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and good afternoon to fellow dignitaries on the dais. I've been asked to, give you a flavor of the jury process. Now, as we know, this is the 6th awards, and actually the flavor would rightly begin from the first award itself, because the first award, the jury was chaired by Justice Lahoti, the former Chief Justice of India of the Supreme Court. And that was the initial stage where a lot of deliberation went on as to how to initiate this process of selecting the winners. And the thinking which emerged at that moment was that TIOL taxation awards are an innovation, and therefore we must also innovate in the process and not make it a jury-driven or a jury-centric selection process. And that is why the emphasis was placed on involving the citizens at large, especially, of course, the taxpayers, the business entities, etc. And the jury has a role to play, but as I will tell you more about the process, you'll realize that this is truly a democratic process where the common man, the common citizen, and the common taxpayer, they all play a role. So the principles that were enshrined there were to make this process very democratic and make it very transparent. And those principles are more or less enshrined now. And in fact, they've been strengthened over the years, right from the first award to the 6th award today. The present jury, of course, consists of 15 members, and it is mentored by Justice Patnaik, and the chair is Justice Shiva Kriti Singh. Both are honorable former members of the Supreme Court, judges of the Supreme Court. The rest of the members are, professionals, stalwarts from the civil service, tax experts, etc. So the principles which were adopted in the first meeting have more or less carried on. And the process would begin then with calling for nominations. And once the call is sent out, then the nominations come in. So as I've already mentioned, everybody is free to nominate. So third-party nominations are welcomed. And not only that, any person or entity can also nominate himself or herself, or the entity can also self-nominate. So this nomination takes place, and then the next step is the voting process. Now here is interesting that the common people, their votes have a weightage of 85% in the final decision which is taken, which means that the deliberations of the jury can influence the final outcome only to the extent of 15%. So this itself tells that how broad-based this selection mechanism is, and why so much of pain is taken to disseminate the information that the nominations have been called for. Shailendra already told you that the response is really humongous. It has been increasing steadily over the years, and it's reached that stage where people are so enthusiastic that they sort of estimate that the nominations will be now asked for, and they contact TIOL in advance, eagerly waiting for the nominations to be called for. So once the nominations are all in, and that is when the hard work of the jury begins. It is not simply totaling the nominations or totaling the votes, but the jury does very intense deliberation on the merit of each nominated person or entity. And of course, as I said in the beginning, since the process is very democratized, the inputs given by those who nominate, that's very critical. It's not a simple nomination, as has already been explained. There's a questionnaire, and therefore the jury comes to know a lot about the entities or the persons nominated through those questionnaires. And then, of course, the deliberations take place, very intense deliberations, and that the weightage of the jury's deliberations is 15%. Now, just to make this process more fair, there are certain stipulations, such as the organizers or the trustees of TIOL do not participate in the voting. That's a strict no. Secondly, even the sponsors of the TIOL events, they are not eligible to be awarded. So this has deliberately been done to make this process very transparent and fair, and so there's no allegation of favoritism. So once the process has gone through, the voting is counted, and that is when the jury comes out with the final list of the awardees. Now, this is a very detailed and in-depth process. Don't go by the fact that I'm telling this to you in just a few words or a few sentences. It takes time, because the jury particularly is very focused and conscious that the stature of the TIOL Awards it's a preeminent award now, and therefore the awardees have really to be worth it. So that is the process which is followed. And I'm repeating this point, but just to give you a sense, the inputs of the common voters or the taxpayers is very critical. For instance, we have two categories of reformist state or a reform-driven tax administration. Now, insofar as the reformist state is concerned, the parameters are very wide. It ranges, say, from reforms in property management, electricity reforms, etc. And in all these areas, the taxpayers, when they give the questionnaire, they narrate their own experiences. They give very focused response, which impresses the jury that this award is really merited by X state or X entity or X tax administration. So finally, after this process is done, of course, the winners are announced. And that culminates in this grand function where the awards are given to the worthy winners. So I think in the journey of the last 6 years, these TIOL national awards have really become the envy of most awards. And TIOL believes that it serves its purpose by rewarding merit, by rewarding reforms. And all this is, of course, aimed at finally improving the ecosystem in this country of doing business, which is definitely required for a Viksit Bharat. So, as I said, the process is now over. Awards have been announced, and today we are going to, distribute the awards. So, in closing, let me congratulate all the worthy winners of the TIOL Awards 2025. And I'll also like to take this opportunity to wish, on behalf of the jury, the organizers, for the grand success of this event. Thank you.